Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Harry Muppet. We're going to be casting a gold/platinum game today between our bottom right player, Terran named Sevchenko, and at the top left, it's our Protoss player named Akilae. And they appear to be both from the same clan, so that's pretty cool. From the starting screen, I believe Akilae is gold, and Sevchenko is platinum, and is nice because we're finally seeing a game where there's no actual Zerg in it. This may be the first one I've cast, I can't be 100% sure, but we should see a different type of game because there's no Zerg. It's just Protoss and Terran, so we'll see how that goes. We've seen this map a few times. The expansion is pretty standard. Actually, this may be an earlier version of the map or a different version of the map. I know I've seen this exact map layout, and there's some heavy rocks here. You can hit them and they get knocked over and block off this entire passageway, but it doesn't look like this map has those. So it appears like this map, it'll be a lot harder to get a third than it was in the other version. So it's a very good scouting timing for both players. I don't know if you'll be able to cut this off. It doesn't look like it at this point. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to cut that off, so that probe is going to get in there and scout. The SCV is also going to get in there and scout, and he's just going to do a bit of dancing around, but nobody's really chasing him at the moment. So meanwhile, this probe's attacking the supply depot. I guess he was trying to attack this SCV building the barracks, but we'll see how this probe goes. He's just going to run off for now, and he is going to be blocked off, so he's not going to be able to see anything more. This SCV, meanwhile, is just going to sit behind the expansion spot over here and just chill out. And I assume he's just putting him there so he doesn't have to worry about a massive amount of micro to keep him alive in here. So he'll probably go in there, just duck in there, see if anything's changed, and if nothing fancy is going on, then he'll just jump out straight away. Now here's just something very interesting. The Protoss is going for a very early double gas, which says either two things, I believe. It's either going into early Stargate tech, or he's going to go for a lot of sentries. And a lot of sentries isn't that bad an idea. You get about 5 or 6 out really quickly, and then you've got more than enough for force fields. And the Terran is also going for pretty early double gas, but he hasn't. There we go. Now he's got 3 people mining that. So early double gas for a Terran could be Banshee harass. It could be I'm not sure what other tech you can really get with early double gas. If he's not going for something like early Banshee, then it seems a little bit of a waste, because he really does need the minerals way more than the gas at the moment. So there goes the factory. Maybe we'll see a starport. Maybe we'll see him starting to get out some really fast tanks. But so here's the double gas plan for the Protoss player. We've got a proxy Stargate. I'm not sure if we're going to seeing Void Rays or Phoenix. Probably Void Rays, as it is a proxy. So there's really no point building a proxy if you're going to be building Phoenix, because they're so fast they can get over there so quickly. So it's probably going to be Void Rays coming out of here. Maybe you'll get about 2 of those guys coming out, and then go ahead and see what damage you can do. And that's it's a bit unfortunate for the Terran player, because he's been training Marauders for the most part. He's got 2 Marines and 3 Marauders, so that is not a very good force to start dealing with the Void Rays. So here we go. There's the tech lab on the factory. So it does look like tanks, maybe Widow Mines. But the Widow Mines, you don't really need the tech lab to produce them, I don't believe. So I'm just trying to think what else he could be going. Maybe fast Thors. Fast Thors would be a pretty good option. If you manage to get some Thors out in the first 10 minutes of the game, then you can do some pretty heavy damage against the enemy, because most people just aren't expecting Thors that early. We do have an Oracle coming out, and yeah, here comes the second Oracle. So he's going to be able to do quite a bit of harassment with this. Maybe take out several workers, but the Terran is not fooled at all. He's already got a missile turret set up back there, so the amount of damage that these oracles are going to cause is going to be quite limited, and this missile turret may even get up. There we go, that's beautiful. So these oracles are not going to be able to do anything here. Didn't get a single hit off, they just run away straight away. So that is that Stargate is a little bit wasted now, and the Protoss player is going to have to do something else to get back into this game. So he's got the, what's this bloody thing called again, the Twilight Council coming up. So we're looking for a pretty heavy ground commitment, either with Blink on the Stalkers or with Zealot Legs, or perhaps even both. It's not a bad strategy when you put Legs in on a bunch of Zealots and then you have a bunch of Stalkers with Blink, then that Stalker Zealot army becomes very scary and they're able to deal with a lot of stuff. And you could just build a massive amount of all of those units. But we'll see what he decides to do. He's getting a Mothership core up now, so that might be for a bit more harass, or maybe just for the utility that the Mothership core provides. Remember also, it doesn't have the giant wavy suckhole that the actual Mothership has, but it does have recall, and you can never underestimate how important recall is going to be at the start of the game when you don't have that many units, and when if you get in a tight spot, then just grabbing all those units and just getting them the hell out of there is going to be an excellent option. So the Terrans caught this. There's a Void Ray coming out, but I don't think it'll ever reach the end of its cycle. It's got a bunch of Protoss all piling in to chase it. I don't know if they're going to catch it, but no. Unfortunately, he didn't manage to take out the Stargate, but I'm not sure the Stargate was having that much impact at the end of the game anyway, or at this stage of the game. So anyway, Protoss are going out for a second base. The Terran's also gearing up for a second base. He's got a few barracks going down. He's got the starport with a reactor popping up, so he is looking to head very firmly into the Triple M area of the game. He's got a couple of tanks and he is moving out with them, so it may look like Triple M tank play, which I've got to say it's not a bad option versus the Protoss, especially if he goes for this massive sort of ground army force. It's going to be pretty good versus them. Good counter for the tanks. Obviously, Immortals are a great counter for the tanks. If you can get a few Immortals, 2 or 3, and you can get a flank on the tanks, and that is just going to mess them up. And of course, Void Rays are great if they can get a flank on the tanks as well, just start taking them out. So we'll see what happens then. For now, the Zerg player is going to pull back. He is getting Zerg legs, he's getting a robo facility, so he may be thinking about Immortals. He may be thinking about Colossus. Colossus is also a very good option. They're a bit more fragile than Immortals, but against the Marine and Marauder, they do quite a large amount of damage. Meanwhile, the Terran is basically just going for some fairly standard stuff, couple of tanks, getting out some Vikings, so he's either anticipating the Stargate units coming out of here, or he's anticipating the Colossus. But either way, those Vikings should prove very, very useful in this game. And right now, the players aren't that far apart. The Protoss is a little bit further ahead, and he's actually really, really far ahead in the workers count. You can see this is fully mining, this is fully mining, whereas the Terran only has one base fully mining, and this one's just sort of slowly picking up speed. Now he's not doing too bad because he's got mules, but still, that amount of workers is just not going to help him at all. So we've got a bit of jumping in by the Vikings. Those two are actually going to get out and hopefully get repaired. So it's a nice bit of a feint, and he definitely knows that the Void Rays are out there now. He may not have been 100% sure about the Void Rays being produced, but he went out there and he saw 3 of them. So I expect him to get a few more Vikings. But I mean, to be fair, a large marine force is also extremely good at taking out the Void Rays, so I think he should be fine as far as that tech route goes. And there we see the Immortal coming out of the Robo base, so the Protoss player is gearing up to deal with those tanks, and Immortals mixed in with this army. It depends how he approaches it, because if he just runs it in, the Stalkers and the Zealots I think are faster than the Immortals. I know the Stalkers definitely are, so that everything will end up running first. What is this? 2.25, 2.75, 2.9. Yeah, so the Immortals will end up stuck behind the rest of the force, and the tanks will be able to shell the rest of the force, and then finally, after half the Protoss army is dead, then the Immortals will start tanking the tanks out if they don't get killed by the Marine Marauders. So it is a bit hard to get the Immortals to start tanking those tanks out. Actually, what I'd really like to see is a couple of Tempests, because Tempests have extremely long range attacks. They can attack ground units, so those would be awesome at sniping tanks. They would just be absolutely awesome at sniping tanks. They don't do a lot of damage, but you get something like 4 or 5 of them, and they could probably wipe out a tank in 2 volleys. And I mean, that's all you need. They got such a large range, you don't really have to worry about the Marines stimming up and sniping them out, because they're fairly speedy as well. Well, not super speedy, but you know, they can move when they need to. So I think they could do pretty well here. Unfortunately, they would be very susceptible to the Viking attacks, so the Protoss would have to have something to deal with that. Maybe Void Rays, maybe Blink Stalkers, I can't really say, but for now he's not going Tempest, he's concentrating on his ground army. He's got 1 attack and he's getting 2 attack and 1 armor on the way. The Terran, meanwhile, has 1-1 on his infantry, nothing on his tank forces, on his air forces he's got nothing, but he is getting 1 weapons for his air army, so he really is worrying about the need to take out those Void Rays. But if you have a look, the Protoss is just absolutely wiping the floor economically. He's continued to push the amount of workers. He's still 30 in the lead. The Terran has been pushing, but the Protoss has been pushing even harder. And the Terran really needs to do something like this about this. He really needs to, first of all, realise how many expansions the Protoss has, and he doesn't at the moment. He probably still thinks there's just 1 expansion, but there's actually 2 expansions. And the second expansion is not slacking off. It's got a fair amount of workers there, so the Terran is going to be in a lot of trouble in about 5-6 minutes if he doesn't either start pushing out his macro or doesn't start dropping in the back of these bases. He's got to drop in the back of the main base. It's going to be quite successful, taking out a fair amount of workers. But look at recall, man. That's a phenomenal use of the recall ability. He's going to wipe out absolutely everything there. It's unfortunate. If he had a bit more time, I would have liked to see the Terran player take out this Templar Archives, especially while it's researching Psystorm. That would have been absolutely awesome, but it just didn't eventuate, and it looks like that army got wiped out quite badly as well, so he maybe should have started to move those away, but he didn't, and they got wiped out. And I'd say the Protoss has pretty much won this game, I think, at this stage. This game's pretty much in the bag. He's got a very large army, 156 over 81, and the Terran player just got left behind when he didn't start checking up on these bases. The Protoss was very aggressive at expanding, and the Terran player didn't punish him as much for it as he would have liked. He tried on the main base, but that use of recall, just absolutely phenomenal. It really, really did turn the tide there. If it wasn't for recall, the Terran player could have taken out all those guys, jumped away. He could have done some dances from one base to the next base to the other base, always with the Protoss player just constantly trying to catch up and not quite getting there. And he could have knocked back the Protoss economy quite a bit, and meanwhile expanded to his own 3rd base, and he would have been in a very good spot. But that one recall was just so good, and it just completely wiped out that drop force, and I think that's really what did it. That one single spell just completely won the game for the Protoss player. So, very good game. Very good job from both players. Congratulations to Akilae. And thank you very much for watching this, guys. I'll catch you guys later.